Good afternoon, and a very warm welcome to all our participants on behalf of Keka HR and Heritage People Practices and the Positivity Company. I am Sanjay Devudu, and in these unprecedented times that all of us are experiencing, there are a range of emotions that individuals are going through. Organizations are going through a lot of new paradigms, and times have shifted drastically from what we were experiencing probably a month ago. Under these circumstances, what are those emotions that individuals are going through? What are people thinking? What are some of the concerns that are there in their mind, whether it is in pertaining to these times now or what to expect in the future? To answer all those questions, to help the thought processes, to create a sense of positivity, we have an extremely experienced guru with us on positivity today. Welcome, Birender Ahluwalia. Very,
Hi,
very
hi
warm
Sanjay.
welcome to you. And thank you so much for taking time to do this for us and for all our participants.
My
And
pleasure. Thank
along with Birender, welcome. Thank you so much. And along with Birender, we also have Ms. Dimple Grover, a renowned psychologist and an academician with tons of experience. And between us, we will be, hosting this session, and Birender will be sharing tons of examples and thoughts and ideas. And we would like this to be a very engaging session. So please do feel free to ask your questions. There will be a poll. You can answer that. You can also use the chat box to ask your questions. And we have an hour allotted for this whole session. So this time, Birinder will take us through his experiences and his range of audiences that he has catered to. And I love the name of his company. It itself is called Positivity Company. And as you can see him on the screen, he's that big smile and that lovely voice that he has is already bringing a lot of positivity. So
thank you.
on that note, without further ado, let me dive right in and start with asking Dimple. Dimple, I mean, like we've been talking over the past few weeks, all of us have been experiencing a completely, I don't know what to call it, strange, unprecedented, interesting times globally, and probably once in a lifetime event for all of us. So it's a kind of a crisis at an individual, personal, professional, organizational level. So what would you define crisis as? What goes on in your mind when you think of the word crisis?
Okay. Thank you, Sanjay, and a very good afternoon to all of you. Before I dwell into any kind of solution for a crisis, and I would rather look into that how we understand crisis. It's very important to build and develop an understanding of crisis. There was a very famous psychologist by the name of William James, and he said we live in big, booming, buzzing world. Now, let me add one more word to it, that's interconnectedness. So now we live in big, booming, buzzing, interconnected world. So when we have an interconnected world, so we are following a kind of pattern of life. Now, this pattern of life could be, in the way how I'm living my life on a daily basis, maybe on a monthly basis, maybe at the individualistic level, or maybe in my organizational level. So, for
Mhm.
example, I wake up at 6:30 in the morning and I drive down to my office at 9 o'clock, reach my office at 9:30, and so on and so forth. So, I have taken the whole gamut of exercises while I'm doing this. Now, what happens that maybe one of the days because there is too much of traffic, so I'll reach at 9:45. I'm good. Maybe when there is no traffic, I'll reach by 9:10. But the whole is falling into the pattern of my life. I'm not away from it. And in very simplified terms, what we are talking to each other and how we are looking at each other, let me say that these patterns are our habits. And,
Mhm.
and keep on living our life as per these habits, as per these patterns, because they give us some kind of stability in our life. So we are being very, very stable on those accounts. And like one of my very close friend was saying that crisis is not just, on one day. The life can be challenging on every day. Every minute could be a challenge. So what happens that when I'm not able to find that scope of going to the office on a daily basis, my pattern gets broken down. Now I have a complete new set of problem which is facing me, which is very, very challenging on that side of it. So what happens that once we are broken from that whole of certainty part of it, we are moving into a lot of uncertainty. Now, when there is uncertainty, we do not know how to respond to it. And when
Right.
we do not know who our enemy is and how do we respond to it, we start looking for different kind of solutions which are not already a part of my life. So now these new solutions, finding these new solutions are very, very challenging. And it requires, a lot of hope, lot of optimism, lot of resilience so that, I can take a step forward and move on to those lines. But then when we are looking at these whole part of it, we are also somewhere getting into a trap of something called as stress.
Right.
And stress is building on. It's not that stress would anytime go away from my life. Stress would be always there, whether it would be in terms of, good stress, what you call as eustress, or whether it would be something which would be hurting me and it would lead me to some kind of mental illness or my challenging my psychological well-being. There I need to take care of my emotional well-being and take care of my stress and look into the responses of whether it's fight or flight. So that is where I'm trying to understand that how actually I'm reacting towards the situation. So the most important thing whenever I would say that crisis is a kind of challenge which we are looking at. And now this challenge be on a daily basis. Maybe when I'm having a very important interview meeting schedule and my tire goes flat, it's a very challenging situation because nobody is going to believe me. Or possibly if there's an entrepreneur, and probably I can take an example of Birender as he was talking to me one day, that the biggest challenge when you become an entrepreneur is that on the 30th day, whereby initially you get a SMS saying that salary credited. You are very happy with that salary being credited in your account. And it's the kind of the loveliest thing which because you have a certainty of spending and moving accordingly as you want to be. But how do I cope up when I see a challenge, there's no response? At the individual level, we feel very, very traumatic, and therefore we need to take on to those challenges in a very optimistic fashion. At the organizational level, an leader has to emerge and come down and steer with lot of emotional agility as well, because now I think the survival of the organizations would be not only on terms of technological agility, but it would be more also dependent on the emotional agility. That is that how I take care of my employees, how well I'm able to manage the workflow, how well I can see that people are working from home. So all these would become a inherent part of it. So whatever we thought probably 10 days back or 20 days back that, we cannot take on to these kind of things from home. Now we all are doing all those things right from our home and we are being successful. So we will find new solutions as we go on our way. And I think as we are searching for the solutions, to not to pave in the way to sadness or some kind of depression on the process, we need to have certain kind of tools and techniques, and that's where the whole idea of positivity comes in. And I think Virender is one of the
And that's
best
where the guru comes in.
sorry. Yes, we would be answering your question very shortly. Pratyusha is saying that how do we handle employees when they take things for granted? So we will be coming down to it because that's talking in terms of building up some kind of trust, and is very, very important in these challenging times. That is that what is it that leader is actually passing on the message to them? And it is not what the message is, it is also about how the message is, and how the leader is having that kind of emotional belief about himself. And I think that's very important aspect of being a very optimistic kind of person. And recently I was conversation with one of my professor who was taking a webinar for us, and he gave a very interesting example, which is also some kind of, I would say, an absolutist example, because he said that most of the time we judge the people with a glass full or glass half empty. So now it's not actually glass half full or half empty. Glass, the water is as it is there. So we are looking at it from a very absolutistic point of view, very realistic point of view. But if I say that glass would be again full after half an hour or possibly next day, then I'm having a kind of very optimistic, very positivistic kind of attitude towards that glass half full or glass half empty. But I think Virender would be able to assess it and maybe give more light onto that, how we are looking into optimism and pessimism part of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Over to you, Birender.
Thank you so much for that, and so everybody keeps calling me the happiness guru, and some people actually started calling me the happiness Sardar, because that kind of seems to work well for me. Right? So, I just want to clear a few conceptions up first, right? Because before the crisis started, this is what I looked like, right? And after the crisis, this is what I look like now, suddenly. Okay, so therefore, if you think that I'm coping with the crisis, well, I'm coping it in my own way. Okay, and so I have to now get both parts of my personality back to it. So, okay, that's what I mean. But before I go ahead, I just want to tell everybody on the audience a few things. Like, first of all, what you might hear, sometimes the thought will come to your mind that, wait a minute, I've heard about this. And that's when I always tell people, most of the thoughts in this world have been thunk. Okay. And therefore, but even then, it's funny because how change happens, because, sometimes when we start our work lives, this is what we look like. Okay. And then sooner or later, this is what we become over a period of time, right? And this happens so nicely and gradually, we don't even realize that we transition from the left picture to the right picture. That is my biggest crisis I'm facing in the current COVID crisis also. Okay. I hope I don't land up looking like that. Right. So therefore, before I dive into optimism or pessimism, right, I just want to cover one more thing. And I think Michelangelo said it so beautifully. He said, somebody asked him, how did you make such a beautiful statue? And he said, you know what? I saw the angel in the marble and I carved until I set him free. Okay? And the reason I like that is, and what I like even more about is the statue which is available somewhere in the United States. Okay? And it's about a man who wants to recreate himself, or a human being who wishes to recreate himself. So therefore, I just want all of you in the audience for the next 50 minutes, just give yourself this 50 minutes, whatever science comes in your way, inspect it like Sherlock Holmes would, and then add and delete it for yourself, right? Because otherwise what will happen is you will go back to being the earlier two cases that we always found about, right? And before Dimple, before I go into optimism, I really want to talk to you first about the science of happiness. And in 2014, when I started off teaching the science of happiness, people said, really? You want to live a corporate life and teach the science of happiness? So what I did, I went to Bing and I searched this phrase, why am I? And this is what comes up on Bing when you search, why am I? Okay. And can you see in India what all we are searching for ourselves? And this is what we're talking about, optimism and pessimism, right? And this was far before we got into the crisis, we were searching about this. Okay. And in normal times, this is what people were searching for on Google, right? And if you type still, this is what people are still searching for. Yesterday, I did this search, okay, on Google. Guess what's popping up? Okay. Why am I single still continues to be amongst all the crises we are facing. Okay. Why am I single? Maybe the loneliness has increased. I don't know what. Okay. But obviously, Sleepy is coming out. Wait, and I have not made this up. Okay. Sundar Pichai will kill me if I tell you. Okay. But this is exactly what.
There's very interesting. Why am I single quiz also there?
Yeah, and I want to dive into optimism and pessimism that we spoke about, right? And there are 4 things about optimism and pessimism. First of all, people think optimism is good, pessimism is bad. I want to correct that. There is nothing good about optimism. There is nothing bad about optimism. There is nothing good about pessimism. There is nothing bad about optimism. Both are situations, right? But what distinguishes them, okay, for now, is optimism is about when, or let's say pessimism is about when you're facing a crisis, you point inward, right? So, for example, when you're facing a crisis and you're wondering whether, is it going to impact my family, right? You're pointing everything inwards about, am I doing enough for my family? And therefore, you might go overboard saying, okay, to protect your own family. Whereas optimism is about when you can move the focus externally and say, okay, this situation is because of an external environment, nothing to do with me or my inadequacy, but I can take those steps, right? So the first distinguishing point between optimism and pessimism is internal and external. The second one is about the negativity focus in this, okay? So, and pessimist might say, oh, I got only 5 marbles, and I'm locked in a house. What can I do with these 5 marbles? There's nothing I can do, okay? Whereas there is some genius somewhere in the world, I must meet who this genius is, okay? He took the same 5 marbles, okay, and created a fantastic marble race, So can you see with the same thing, he creates something beautifully and new and sends it out into the world, which becomes, it gives the lightened moment to everybody, right? That's the second one. And the third one is about permanence versus temporary. Okay, permanence versus temporary. Permanent is, as people who play the game, is that, okay, this is doomsday. Everything's going to come to an end. There is nothing. My life is going to change. It's going to be the end of the world. Okay, whereas the optimists say, okay, this too shall pass. I understand this is a problem. I understand it can have huge consequences, but I know this shall pass. Okay. Normally, when you have Indian audiences, I say there's a difference between pessimism and optimism is doom and doom, doom machale, that kind of a thing, And the last one, which distinguishes the two, are specific versus global. Okay. Specific mean, okay, I know there is a problem. I need to correct 1, 2, 3 aspects about my life. Whereas global is you start saying, okay, everything in my life is going to be a problem, right? So it's specific versus global. So just to sum this up, optimism is the golden mean. Okay, is the golden mean between internal and external, between thinking positive, thinking negative, permanence versus temporary, specific versus global, right? So therefore, it's about all 4 of them, and it's not that you can only stay or you should only be staying in one state. Okay, it's okay to be in the other state so long as you can glean in correct information from that, right? So that's the definition of optimism. And I don't know, it can tend to confuse a lot of people. Like, how can being optimistic be bad? I always tell people, I'll tell you how it can be bad. If I'm eating gulab jamun, and if you think I'm going to leave one behind and focus on my plate, okay, that is false optimism. I am not going to leave gulab jamun back. Okay, focus elsewhere. Okay, pessimism may be good. Okay, pessimism is you may think Birender is a nice guy. He will not steal my gulab jamun. Okay, so you may that, but mind you, if you look the other way, I will steal it from your plate. Okay, so being pessimistic there will help you, right? Protect your gulab jamun from me. Okay, being pessimistic will be good. So you see here, optimistic is good. Know when to stop. Pessimistic is good. Know where to stop. Okay, there is no okay. But the main thing is don't let it drain you, and you start asking the question, "Oh my God, why did I do all this? Is this really worth it?" Right? And that's when I always tell people, and all my clients, when I started consulting with them way back in mid-March, is first create an happiness vision board for yourself and for your teams and for your organization. Which is whatever it is that you don't like about ourselves can be shifted, nudged, and changed towards what we want instead. Okay. So here's a challenge to all the couple of 100 people on this call. Okay. By end of April, you can choose to be on the path that you wish to be 21 days from now. Okay. So therefore, start thinking about the happiness vision board you have. What is the part of you wish to change? What is the part of you wish to? Okay. But before that, I want to take you through, about a lot of people have been talking about, okay, happiness. We learned about optimism and pessimism. And I want to just come to a few mindsets about happiness. Okay.
In between, I would like to pose a question.
Yes.
when we are talking about optimism part of it, pessimism part of it, that belongs to an individual, and as an individual level, and if you are at somebody who's at a real senior level, maybe CEO or CHRO, then how is it that you pass the same kind of message to your company or to your people, whereby, you are saying that, all right, we are living through some kind of difficult times, we have to navigate this through. So, how is it that a CEO of a company can build up that trust in the people and say that, all right, stay with me, stick with me. Maybe this month is difficult. Maybe I, cut down your salary by 30%. But the ultimate end of it is that you still have a job to go to, maybe after a month or 1.5 months. So, how does he bring this into the picture? And how can he relate that to the happiness vision board?
Yeah. It's an interesting question, and I'm going to ask you to park part of the question for a bit later. Just remind me if I don't cover that, but it'll get covered. Okay. And where this trust really comes from is human beings have this innate sense to be able to gauge, are you being genuine or not? Okay.
Yes.
Through your communication, our mirror neurons can read each other. Right? And I can with fair amount of accuracy pinpoint what you are actually trying to tell me. Okay, so therefore, just being true, honest, upfront, right? And what research across the world is coming about is, and there are leaders who are really standing out there to saying, okay, our first priority is our employees, right? Our first priority is our employees. Let's look at the safety of our employees first.
Yes.
And if you go to the Maslow hierarchy of needs, okay, let's take care of the safety first, safety of our employees, safety of our customers. Once that is done, once that is secured, right, then people are moving into saying, okay, how do I get my business back on track, right? And therefore, how the leaders are positioning themselves. Are they positioning themselves as compassionate leaders? Are they positioning themselves as leaders full of wisdom and leaders full of clarity? Okay, that how do I navigate the next normal? Okay, one mistake we are making is we're calling this the new normal. Why is it a mistake? It's a mistake because there is no new normal. What you choose to do on the 10th of April might be irrelevant on the 15th of April. So get your minds to keep saying that, there used to be this serial called The Kahani Mein Twist, that dialogue. Okay, so expect a lot of Kahani Mein Twist. Expect a lot of plot twists to take place. Okay, correct. And once you train your brain that, look, there are going to be a lot of plot twists, okay, and there will be lots of changes, your brain will start to enjoy that, right? Yes. Because you are putting it to your brain as a challenge, right? And somebody else had earlier asked a question about how do I engage a particular employee. I'm going to come to that a bit later on when I do connection. Okay, but just coming very quickly to cover the myths of happiness, if I would like to call that, right? So therefore, let me just click on one more button there. Fantastic. Okay. So, there was this impression people had that, if I win the jackpot, I'll be very happy. And researchers actually researched this, and they went to potential jackpot winners, and they asked them, what, if you win the jackpot, which is millions and millions of dollars, okay, will you be happy? And how long will the happiness last? So obviously people said, in the jackpot, I'll be happy for the rest of my life, and my happiness will remain very high. Okay? You know what they found? 9 months later, the happiness did go up. 9 months later, the happiness tended to come back down, get into the set state. Then there was very interesting research about dual leg amputees, which is people who were in an accident and were about to be told that they're going to lose both the use of both their legs. Can there be a bigger crisis than this, that you were about to be told that you're going to lose both your legs, right? And they were asked, if this is the diagnosis, how will you feel, and how will your happiness go up or down? What will happen? They said, of course my happiness will go down. They said, okay, how long will you remain unhappy? They said, obviously I'll remain unhappy for the rest of my life. Okay, and then they were given the news. And here's the interesting thing: a year and a half later, yes, they were unhappy, and a year later, their happiness came back to the normal state because human beings adapted to the new reality that was faced. There was an interesting research on cancer. If anybody in this audience has had cancer patients in their family and they've looked after on cancer, you will find people when they were detected with cancer, okay, they completely reoriented their lives, right? And once they reoriented their lives, they became much more enriching. So some people actually ironically said, "Thank you, cancer," because I really reevaluated my life basis of that. And now this is a crisis with permanent effect, like cancer and losing both your legs. Okay, and there was one very interesting tracking they did of a person, and they were about to tell him that, "Look, you've undergone cancer medication." Okay, and now they were about to tell him that you are cancer free. So they tracked his emotions beforehand, and the peak that you see, which is the first peak, okay, which is this peak here, okay, what they said, and that was the day when he was told he's cancer free. Wow, he said, "That's fantastic, right? And cancer free." But you can see, few days later, his mood came back to normal state. So imagine being told that you're cancer free, okay, will also, and this is when scientists discovered post-traumatic. So earlier we all knew PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, right? PTSD. And scientists discovered something called post-traumatic stress growth, PTSG, or which is resilience. Resilience being the ability to bounce back from deep adversity. That's the definition of resilience, okay? I'm gonna, and just to sum up this thing about loss of money and how important money is, 80% people across the world say money is important. And interestingly, unfortunately in India, and this is before the COVID crisis, the World Happiness Report reports that our happiness has been dropping, okay? We're at 144. We are giving a tough fight to countries like Afghanistan, etc., who are facing civil war, okay? So these are the countries we're competing with for happiness, right? And why? Because, you know, all our life, all our managers we've led, and we've led people with this simple belief: work hard, or similarly work hard through this crisis. And once you work hard through this crisis, you will be successful. And once we come out of the crisis, happily, we will be happy. We'll be, thank God we come out of the crisis, right? That's always been this equation, okay? So therefore, my mother always told me, "Beta पढ़ ले, because pass ho jayega, तो देखो नौकरी मिलेगी." Okay, and congratulations, you know, all of you passed and you got good jobs, okay, but why aren't you happy, right? Because what we found is that the equation actually has reversed, right? And what we find is this: positive people work harder and therefore are more productive. Even in today's crisis, what we are finding is CEOs, CXOs, and right to the front line, employees who were positive before the crisis are shining even brighter today. Right? Employees who were always very pessimistic, not enjoying their jobs, okay, were all continue to be where they are. Okay, so when a new crisis came, the top 5%, 10% of people are stepping up. Okay, they're stepping up their game to be able to go up. Right? I'm going to skip this slide. So therefore, our happiness and our ability to bounce back is in our hands, right? And therefore, our ability with which we navigate through the crisis that we are seeing also is in our hands, okay? And we can increase it when we wish to. Of course, we will have crises like this when it may not work, okay, which is fine, right? And that's why, okay, I want to go into the next part of it, and I'm going to just stop here to first check on the results that we find. So we've done a little poll out there. Okay, if everybody can just do a poll. In the last 1 week, did you experience stress? Okay, and I'm just going to go back to the main and see what are the results that we've gone. So there's a poll. If you click on the polls, have you felt stress yesterday or the last 1 week? You could say that. 10, very, very, very frequently. 1 to 3, no, I'm chill, no problem. Okay, so give yourself a 1 to 3 in the poll. You will find it on the right. Okay. So far we've had 40, 70, 75 odd people taking part in the poll. So if more people can answer that question, it'll give us a good sense about how
I think the number is shooting up quickly. So people are keenly taking it up. I see the number jumping to 85 now and slowly climbing.
Good. How many people are on the call?
And we have a total of around 123 people. So
okay. I've got a monitor on my side, which I'm just looking at. So I'm just connecting that to make sure I can see the polls also. And just at this moment, my monitor decided.
Question simultaneously coming up, which is talking
Good.
about working from home, and because it's a lot of people need to go out in the field and do some kind of work, and they have not been able to pay the salaries, or have not been able to receive the salaries. So, one of the participants have very nicely pointed out about what you were saying about if a person is happy, he would be more productive, and what you were saying exactly the same. So how do you look into this whole issue of it, that how is it that they convince their employees that the salaries would be there for them?
Yeah, so I'm going to answer this question in two ways, okay? So before the crisis, I worked with a lot of stressed companies where salaries were being delayed by 15 days, 1 month, in some cases 3 months, right? And that was the situation before the crisis. And the salary delays were taking place for everyone. And here's the interesting part of it, okay? So even with the same salary delays, there were some people out there who were producing really the top gangbusters numbers, okay? And there were 20% of people who were producing 80% of the volumes. So I asked the senior team, I said, is it that these 20% people, are you paying them on time, not paying others? They started laughing. How is that possible? Obviously, everybody gets paid at the same time. So I said, how is it that these 20% people with the same stimulus of no salaries are going ahead, meeting their clients, engaging with the clients, giving them great advice, building relationships with them, and getting business? And how is it with the same stimulus, some 20% saying, oh, I'm so demotivated and I can't work, right? So that became the distinguishing point. Okay? And when we started analyzing these people at the top performers, right, they said, you know what, I understand I've not got my salary, okay, but there are two parts of it. They said, again, the two parts of it. What they said is, you know what, if I stop working, the chances of me getting my salary drops even more. So therefore, it's in my benefit and the benefit of the company that I work hard and therefore ensure that we get enough revenue for salaries to be paid out, right? And certainly this company started delivering much better and better results, right? So it's interesting that with the same problems, some people shine out. We call them positive deviants. Okay, we call them positive deviants. And therefore, yes, how are you identifying those deviants and making them role models for everyone else? Right? To say, look, even with all these problems, these gentlemen and ladies are continuing to deliver outstanding results, and show gratitude to them, recognize them, put the spotlight on them. Okay, as senior leaders, take the spotlight away from you, put it on them to say, these guys are delivering fabulous results. Okay, and you start to see a spiral of positivity goes up. Okay, and I'm going to cover this question a bit more in depth when I do the third part of it, which is connection. Okay, so the scale looks like, so it's interesting, right? With the same crisis, 1 to 3, one third of us are saying, oh, yeah, we are coping with the stress quite well. Okay, and some of them are saying outright on 10, 5 of them are saying, I experience stress the same way. So the same stimulus is impacting us, all of us, as you can see in the poll, very differently, right? The stimulus is the same. We all have the same virus that we're combating, okay? But it's just that some people are dipping into the resources that they have and using them. Some people have got a bit despondent and not using the resources that they have. Okay? That's the core difference between two. So identifying the positive deviants right out there. Okay? And how does this take place? Very interestingly, the way this takes place is this. Okay, and I'm going to just show you my screen. And the way it takes place is all in our mind. Okay, but actually in the physiology of our mind, because in our mind we have something called the amygdala. Okay, and the amygdala is a part of the brain which acts like a radar. It is always asking the question, and it asks only one question, which is, am I safe? Okay, and so long as the amygdala gets the question, and the amygdala gets the responses directly from the eyes and from the ears. Okay, so straight away it has a direct communication there. The moment the amygdala gets the phrase that, no, you're not safe, okay, it goes into what we call a brain freeze. Okay, it stops thinking. And you know what's leading most to it is social media. Okay, because a week back, when I started tracking this 2 weeks back, there were 7 billion search results for coronavirus. Okay? Last week, this number was 11 billion. Yesterday, the number was close to 16 billion search results for coronavirus. Okay? And when all these shares and all start going up, our brain starts overcompensating and starts focusing only on the problem, right? And that's what we call the amygdala hijack, okay, or the brain freeze. And this leads to desperation. Okay, so for example, people holding on. I know some people who went and bought 200 kilos of rice. Okay, desperation, or they just gave up and said, "Forget it, I can't do anything." Okay, hopelessness. And so some people started experiencing emotional and physical pain, and some people started experiencing burnout. Right? Same stimulus, same organization, same culture, same families, different people were responding differently. Why? Because I'm going to just pull the curtain back, because right when we lived in the caves, and if a caveman saw a tiger, okay, the caveman had to completely run for it, right? Otherwise, the caveman would have been eaten by that tiger, right? And even before the crisis, it's kind of a perfect storm, because the economy already was kind of stuttering,
Receiving.
and also we had poor health and hygiene systems. Our social media was hyper connected. So therefore, the answer came back: you are very unsafe, okay? Because the amygdala didn't know anything else, right? And then this is when optimism and pessimism comes to the fore, Dimple, that question that you asked. You started asking the question, okay, the thoughts start coming to your mind: am I safe? Will I have a job? How about my targets? How about my cash flow? Will I be able to pay salaries? What will happen to my salaries? And then so many contradicting news, okay? And then that leads to feelings of confused. Okay, I'm alone. Okay, how do I handle everything? I miss my colleagues. How will I look after my colleagues? I feel overwhelmed because of social media. And that leads to action, which is about, I fight it how? With either junk food or caffeine or drinking, or fright by overeating. By freeze, for example, people would stop exercising, right? So therefore, that starts a negative cycle there, okay? And usually a downward spiral. Whereas, and the one that you see in white are the pessimists. But some people said, hey, wait a minute, I've been through worse crises than these. Okay? And they started becoming what I like to call beacons of hope, right? And using their skills of optimism and inspiration, suddenly, if you notice, a lot of team leaders started becoming motivational speakers on Zoom calls. They're motivating the teams every day, sending very encouraging WhatsApp messages, which is fantastic, right? Okay, it goes against my business model, because people hire me less and less. Okay, but never mind that. Okay, and they started becoming resilient. You can already see people bouncing back. Already, you can see people planning next steps. Okay, even if tough decisions need to be taken, they are taking those tough decisions and moving on. Right. I'm going to pause here. Okay, any doubts, anything, but no, is this applicable, not applicable? Feel free to jump in and ask those questions. Dimple, if you could just read through the chat panel and just tell me if there are any questions, any nice stuff.
See, most of the questions you have been able to answer, and possibly, again, it's being talked about that, how it becomes the responsibility of an HR person to bring more of the happiness. But I think I would like to take on to this answer that it's not the responsibility of only an HR person. I think it's the responsibility of each and every individual that, every individual is now in that particular state of crisis that is challenging for him. So it's not only the CEO is challenged. CEO is challenged more at a macro level. He's taking care of many more things beyond that. So I think that every individual has to have an onus. Every individual has to have some kind of responsibility, take on to the challenge. And I would add on to one more thing. If you're forward looking, most of the time, if you drive, just by looking at the rear view mirror, you're going to have an accident. So now what you have to do is maybe upgrade yourself, or look at some kind of plan B for yourself, and then say that, all right, if this is working, let me go ahead and work on this. So that is what I'm trying to understand from it.
Yeah.
So
some of the fantastic CHROs that I'm working with, they're doing a three-pronged strategy, okay, in different proportions, of course. So first of all, HR is really stepping up to the game today. Okay, earlier on, all the debates would be about being a business partner, etc. But now we are finding HR really stepping up and becoming those true partnerships. And how they're doing it is in 3 ways. So first of all, some very good, very forward-thinking HRO, CHROs, what they're doing is reaching out to their networks of people, asking them, hey, wait a minute, what are you doing different? What are you doing different? So there's a lot of sharing taking place within CHRO networks. So I would strongly recommend all of you on this call, make those calls to other HRO people and ask them some good practices that are being done. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing where CHROs are really stepping up is they are finding these positive deviants within the organization and then spreading the infection, the positive infection, right? Saying, okay, if these 5 people can do it, can all of us do that? Okay, so they're stepping up to that. And the third part of where CHROs are coming to the play is, and I'll cover that in a bit, is bringing a sense of calm and stability. Okay? And why that is important. So that is the third step that they're bringing in. So a very, very strong 3-pronged strategy there. Okay, and about stress. Okay, and about what stress that we are experiencing today. Okay, and I'm going to give you some very quick tips around here because I know I'm very tight on time here. Okay, so therefore, first of all, did you know stress was discovered only in 1956? Okay, 100 years back, we had the plague. We never experienced stress apparently because stress was not, the word was not invented. Okay, and Hans Selway, okay, said something very interesting. He said, complete freedom from stress is death. Okay, and when is stress most harmful? Okay, and you'll find this exactly going on. First of all, when it feels against your own will and out of your control. You know, we are all tied down to our homes. It feels against our will, right? And therefore, if I'd asked you, you know, how about you take a sabbatical? Okay, and this is what I actually did with a client. Okay, she loves climbing one of the top peaks every 6 months or 9 months, right? And I told her, how about you reframe this to say you've taken a 3-week sabbatical to learn a new course? Okay? Suddenly the mindset changes because it suddenly feels it's in my control. Second is stress is harmful when it isolates you from others. Okay, and this is from Kelly McGonigal. She does some fabulous work on Stanford from stress. And the third thing, which is the most harmful, is when you feel you're inadequate to manage the realities of life. Okay, I'm going to cover this in the summary slide here. So one of the attitude towards stress that Kelly McGonigal talks about, and this is from a research from Yale, one is that we always think stress is harmful and should be avoided. Okay, and that we say instead reframe the stress to be it's good and should be embraced because it's positive. It improves my vitality because stress. You know, have you ever seen a test match where in innings 1 for the first 3 days the team scores 700, and innings 2 and the second team comes to bat and they're batting at 600 on day 5 at a lunch? Are you going to watch that test match? Okay, because it's become boring, right? Okay? But if it's a down to the wire, 10 overs left, okay, and you know 2 wickets in hand, 30 runs to score, you know that's when the real players start to come out, right? Okay, that's when the performance comes out. Okay, it's identical to us in corporate life. Okay, and everybody's on the call. I would like you to take out your mobile phone and take a picture of this slide. Okay, because this is the mool mantra of stress. Okay, this is the mool mantra. Okay, the entire Upanishads are written on this. Okay, just remember what would happen if you thought stress is a signal that you care. Okay, what if you thought that stress is giving me this energy to rise to a challenge? Okay, life has posed me with a challenge. Okay, so for example, all of you on this call, if you look at this as a challenge to say 30 years from now when I have children or 50 years from now when I have grandchildren, okay, I'll be able to tell them how I directed my company and my colleagues and my family through this challenge, right? And it's an opportunity to learn and grow. Okay, how if you saw stress as you can be a catalyst for courage, connection, and compassion? And by the way, stress also is part of a meaningful life. Okay, because life was never meant to be steady. Life was always meant to have these ups and downs, sometimes many downs and a few ups. Okay, but if you looked at stress like this with this kind of an angle, okay, it helps much more. Okay, and in terms of, I'm going to skip a few slides here, okay, because I know I'm quite tight on time. And the paradigm that we talk about stress is this. I'm just going to look at my monitor to see if it's coming up. Yes. Okay. So if I plotted the challenge that you face and skills, okay, and if that was equilibrium, if your skills are higher than a challenge, you would find yourself in a comfort zone. If your skill is in higher than a challenge, okay, you will find yourself in what we call eustress or enjoyable anxiety. If the challenge rises even more, you find yourself in distress. And slightly less than that, you're in boredom. Remember when you learned to drive a bicycle and you were wobbling? Okay, you were wobbling, and when you were about to fall, okay, that was when panic would take place. Okay, but remember the first time when you learned to balance yourself, right? Wasn't that so nice? Wow, I can balance myself. Okay, and then so over a period of time when you learned it, it became flow. Yeah, I'm enjoying my cycle ride. After a few months, this became very boring. Arey yaar, wo wapas the same cycle and the same journey, right? So the same stimulus of riding a bicycle went from panic when you felt you're about to fall into boredom. Same bicycle, same road, same you. Right? How quickly you transition there. Okay? And if you're experiencing stress right here, right now, okay, and maximum amount of learning, we always say, happens between the panic zone and the anxiety zone. Okay? And when is panic most likely to occur? It appears to occur, you will notice when you're hungry, or when you're angry, or when you're feeling lonely, or when you're feeling tired. Okay. Again, I'm going to just go through the slide once again. So when you're angry, okay, sorry, I'll just keep this here. So if you want, take a picture of this slide, because this is the HALT methodology. Okay. So Sean Acor came up with this methodology, which I'm using here. So hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And what do you do when you're experiencing HALT? Okay. You flip it around, you turn it around, right? And therefore, for HALT, when you're feeling hungry, you feed your body and mind. Okay. When you're feeling angry, move the locus of control within yourself. When you're feeling lonely, you include and inspire others. And when you can't seem to sleep, okay, you just pause and align to your purpose. How do you do that? Okay, first of all, with your body, make sure you're getting adequate sleep, okay, and you're getting adequate movement through the day. Okay, and since we have already 50 minutes, okay, I'm going to do a very quick exercise for you. And what I want you to do is just scoot back, okay, and interlock your fingers like this. Everybody, come on, do that. Okay, and take your hands, just stretch nice and easy. Okay, stretch. Make sure right from your hip bone, right to your shoulders, right till your palms, you're stretching, and go right. Go right. Ouch, I know it hurts. You're discovering parts of muscle you never knew existed. Okay, come to the middle and now go left. Okay, so every 1 hour, just do some simple stretches, and just one more stretch I'm going to teach you. Okay, just sit down with the back upright. Okay, and lift your feet up so that your feet are parallel to the ground. Take your hands up the way I am right now. Okay, and try and touch your toes. Come on. I know it'll hurt. Try touching your toes. Have you touched your toes? Okay, and keep that for 10 more seconds. Okay, 10 more seconds. Keep your toes, feet parallel to the ground, sitting in your chair itself. Okay, your calf muscles will be screaming in agony. Never mind. Okay, does that feel good? Right? So just using some very small movement tips can help you, right? When you're doing Zoom calls, sometimes excuse yourself, go off video, and just walk up and down, okay, your house. I know a colleague of mine, she said that her neighbor actually once over 7 hours in his balcony in Gurgaon walked the entire marathon, 42 kilometers in 7 hours he walked. Okay, imagine. So and make sure your nutrition and hydration, very important. If you like sugar, cut down on sugar, because sugar increases the inflammation in your body. Okay, and here's the best part of the research. What we find is if you don't sleep for 7 hours a day, it decreases the immunity you have. Your body has to fight the virus. Okay, so sleep. If you can't, there's some very small tips I would like to give you about sleep. So first of all, try and get to bed by 10 p.m. Okay, but before you go to bed, do what we call a mind dump. Okay, which is write your to-do list for tomorrow. So you know exactly what needs to be done tomorrow, and your brain settles down. Okay, and come up with a sleep ritual if you don't already have one, and go back to and try and sleep there. Okay, and then if you have a problem sleeping, okay, again get up if you need to, go change your night clothes again, get into something fresh, and start the ritual again. Okay, so that you feel there. Okay, hydration. If you notice, I always have a bottle of water. Every half an hour, take a little hydration break so that you can keep hydrating yourself, right? So that is the second part of. And then in terms of locus of control, okay, the brain is like a battery. Okay, the brain is like a battery. Remember that. So the first thing that we learned about is the sleep. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. And then the brain is about like a battery. It is freshest in the morning. Okay, so once you've done your housework, etc., looked after your house, looked after the family needs, okay, do the most important task for your work first thing after you've done. Okay, when your brain is absolutely free. Okay, so that's the first part of it, right? So therefore, and then go back to your to-do list and go down and focus there. But still, what will happen is that you will find your mind wandering off. And the way to bring your mind back, and that exercise is called meditation. Okay, I'm going to teach you two very simple tips about meditation, right? And which is meditation in just 30 seconds. All I want you to do is sit down relaxed with your feet on the floor. Okay, and your back lightly touching the back of your chair. Okay, both your feet on the floor, and just relax the muscles on your face. Just relax the muscles on your face for 30 seconds. Relax the muscles on your face for 30 seconds. Feel your eyes relax. Feel your cheekbones relax. 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 And now, for the next 30 seconds, bring to mind an image of someone you love. With your eyes closed, think of the person you love and send this person the meditation of loving kindness. Say to this person, may you be safe. May you be happy. May you live with ease. Again, relax your face. Bring your hand to your heart. Rub your hands and just lightly how did that feel, everyone? If you could just tell us in chat, how did that feel?
I think we'll go on and we'll get on to that simultaneously because of the time shortage, and everybody is saying it's very good and relaxing.
Okay, that's nice. Okay, so that's about meditation. Okay, and I'm going to do a little bit of an exercise for you. Okay, I'm going to skip a few slides, and I'm going to do an exercise for you, which you will experience on a day-to-day basis, right? And here's this exercise. Okay. And this is the power of thoughts. Okay. So for the next 30 seconds, what I want you to do is imagine you're sitting in front of a television, right? And you're watching horrible news. You're watching newscasters go haywire on you. Okay. So your time starts now. Start watching television in front of you. See the line of migrant workers. Hear all the terrible news coming through the news channels. Experiencing what's happening in your body. See the graphs of the count of COVID go up. And see the commentators cursing each other, giving each other negative vibes. Experience all the negativity. Once you've experienced that, okay, I want you to look at this chaotic screen. What do you see in the screen? If you could just write that down on chat, what do you see in the screen?
So it's chaos. Mostly
it's chaos, right? Okay. So now what I want you to do is, okay, again, I want you to come with me to my favorite holiday destination. All of you, all 100 of you, I'm taking you to my favorite holiday destination, Goa. Okay, and imagine all of you we're all meeting at Goa airport. Okay, all of us have landed at Goa airport. We've got into the bus, we can feel the fresh, all this is over, we can feel the fresh breeze. We land into we drive into a very nice hotel, full green, we can see the sea in front of us. Okay, all of us decide to go to the beach. We're all standing, all 200 of us are standing on the beach. Okay, the waves are lapping onto our feet. Okay, I want you to enjoy that moment, all of us together. Right? And now I want you to do the second part. And I want you to see this little village as a village which has come back to its bustling self after having lived through the COVID crisis. Right? Now I want you to spot 15 good things in this image. In the same image, I want you to spot 15 good things. This is a village which has lived through its crisis and managed all the adversities. What can you see? Tell me 15 good things you can see in this. Dimple, keep telling me what people are seeing.
See, as of now, there's a lot people are talking about uncertainty. Now they're moving into good business activity, life, best thing, people are going out. I would add on, let me say that, thriving on chaos, there's some bit of activity, people are chatting, people are interacting. So there is an engagement, there are signals, people are shopping, people are going to dhaba, and it's a normal bustle, and people are obeying the traffic norms, and life seems to be normal. It comes back to normal with lot of colors and, getting down to, very interestingly, I get a Dabur ad also there over here.
Yeah.
That and vibrant life is there.
So isn't it amazing? When I put you in a negative state, all you could see was chaos. When I put you in a positive state and I told you look for the same positive, and you saw the same picture. And by the way, I do this exercise even before the crisis took place, and the reaction would be identical. I'm just trying to get to my monitor to make sure because it's gone into sleep mode. I don't know why. Okay. So before we are seeing the crisis, and when I do the same exercise beforehand, it was to be exactly the same way. Right? People would see it negatively, and now suddenly people can see the positives in this. Right? So similarly, what if you could rephrase what you are seeing today, right? And move from a mindset which is there's nothing I can do to a mindset that and I'm helpless in this situation. What if you could change that mindset into by acknowledging the stress, welcoming it, and using the stress, and then you say, there are practices I can adopt today that will make a difference. I can focus on what I can control. Okay. And another activity we ask you to do is think about a mantra that always helps for you. For example, for me, the mantra always is, this too shall pass. And I always used it whenever I got rejected for my bids, whenever a pitch would go wrong, I would always say, this will pass. Okay, there have been months where I had zero billing, and I would say, okay. So everyone think of your own mantra, and when your mind starts to go into a negative state, remind yourself of the mantra, and it will help you.
All is well.
Yeah,
all is well.
All is well. Okay, and now I'm going to take you to the final. Okay, for the last couple of minutes that we have, which is about when you feel lonely. Okay, and the technique we talk here is about gratitude. Okay, and what I'm going to do is, I'm going to teach you a gratitude exercise, which I want you to do right away. Okay, I know I have exactly 2 minutes. Okay, what I want you to do is pull out your phones and message 2 people. Okay, ideally 5, but message 2 from a time perspective. Message 2 people in your life who's an inspiration for you. Tell them why are they an inspiration for you. Okay, so just quickly. So for example, Dimple, I could send a message to you saying, Dimple, the amount of work that you've done in psychology and in understanding human nature is phenomenal. I really admire you for that, right? So, but I will write this in a proper WhatsApp message and I will send it to you, okay? Similarly, everyone on the call, quickly pull out your mobile phone and in the next 2 minutes, okay, send out a WhatsApp message to at least 1 or 2 people and tell them why are they an inspiration for you. Or it could even be someone who has helped you maybe yesterday, day before yesterday, and you could tell them thank you for something that they've done for you. Okay. So what I want you to do is just say your gratitude to these people and experience that in the real time. Okay? So I'm going to give everybody 1 minute to do that.
And let me openly say thank you to you.
Thank you so much, Dimple. Okay. It's much nicer if you write it, Dimple.
All right. I'll write down here too, as well as possibly I'll be talking to you later on as well.
Yeah. So when you write it, your brain begins to process it much better. That's why we always suggest writing it down, right?
Right.
And while you're writing this and you're hearing this, I'll complete the section here. So, I always ask this question for people. What if you asked your significant other that if you had a choice that I will give you, let's say, 12 roses when this is over, let's say on 1st of May, I'll give you 12 roses on the 1st of May, or option 1, 12 roses on the 1st of May. Option 2, 3 roses on the 1st of May, 3 roses on the 8th of May, 3 roses on 15th of May, 3 roses on the 22nd of May. Okay, so option 1, all 12 on day 1. Option 2, all 3 roses across 12. Okay. Chances are you would have all said that, look, getting it over 3 roses would be much better. Okay, because what we say here is when you frequency and balance builds trust. So when you encourage people on an ongoing basis, it gives them the little confidence. Okay. Somebody had a very interesting question. What if somebody is taking this very indifferently? I would submit to you, usually in times like this, what seems like bravado is actually deep insecurity and scared.
Right.
I will submit that to you without having even seen that person. Just scratch that surface to see what's below the bravado. Okay. So when you talk to this person next, build the conversation up, ask the person what's happening in their life, etc. You might get something very different that's coming out. Okay. But engage with this person more frequently. Okay.
Yeah, that's the mask. That's the mask.
Okay. And about gratitude, I know I'm way out of time here. I'm going to very quickly cover this. When you express gratitude, what happens is very simply, what you appreciate, what you focus on the good, appreciates. What you don't appreciate, depreciate. So there's a good chance that this person may have done something nice and you disregarded it. Okay, so therefore it depreciated, and this person said, forget it, I'm not going to do anything for you. Okay, because that person feels unappreciated, perhaps. So this requires great amount of empathy to identify what is this exact emotion that is triggering this. Okay, so it could be lack of appreciation, right? So therefore, what you appreciate appreciates, what you don't appreciate depreciates. This links back to the crisis. Okay. What you appreciate about the crisis. Do you see the crisis as a time when you're spending time with your children? Children are seeing mommy and daddy more and more often. Okay, it's a time I'm getting to spend with my parents. Okay, with my mother. Okay, I'm always looking. Usually, I always neglect her, but usually I'm every day talking to her, making sure her medication is on time, making sure I'm getting vegetables for her, groceries for her. I've never done that ever before, right? Okay, she was always dependent. But now I'm doing these small things for my mother, and I'm liking that. Okay, so I'm looking at the crisis. I have started doing a design thinking course from IBM, and I've done that. Okay, I'm on to the second stage. Okay, I did a Daniel Goleman resilience there, a fantastic course. Okay, and I'm enrolled on the Yale University of Yale course on happiness. I'm doing 3 courses simultaneously. So I'm looking at this as a time of upskilling. Okay, right. and mind you, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. If I don't do programs, okay, and here's the best part of it. When all of this started, I knew resilience is gonna become the big thing. So I reached out to all my clients and said, wait a minute, this crisis is hitting. Are you ready to become resilient leaders? And I quickly developed a program for resilient leaders, and I was literally first to market, right? Talking to people about resilience. Right, and some people came back and said, Birender, there's something nice about this. I said, what? They said, you always did, but this time we're really seeing you truly and at every moment of the day living up to your name of a company called the Positivity Company, because you're not seeing this crisis as an end of the road. Okay? I'm just seeing this crisis as, and like I keep saying, I'm an entrepreneur. The day I don't bill, I don't get money for that day. Okay, I'm a daily wage laborer, so to say. Okay. So what you appreciate about the crisis, what you appreciate about your people that you have, Okay, and remember, one important message for all of you: do not judge people in a negative way after this crisis is over, because this is unnatural for all of us. Deal with them with compassion. They have to see you when you are engaging with them. Okay, is this person calling me to dress me down, or is this person calling me from a place of compassion, of wisdom, of empathy? Okay, because when
A
you
lot of
and when you make the phone call with this person to say, I'm going to be, come what may in this conversation, I'm going to be the one with wisdom, compassion, and empathy, and keep playing that card. Okay, eventually you'll make a breakthrough with this person. So with that, I know oh God, I'm 5 minutes over time. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, any questions?
No, I think it was absolutely present. Absolutely wonderful session, Birender. Thank you so much. In fact, we would have loved it to go on for another hour if we had the liberty. It was absolutely wonderful. So if we could take 5 extra minutes, there are some very interesting questions which have come in. So if you could help these individuals kind of think positively on those lines, it may be very helpful. Unfortunately, this is for our participants. Unfortunately, we may not be able to answer all the questions. I'll just pick up some of the key ones and try to help you get the answer from Birender. So one question, Birender, is in the current scenario where we are out of personal touch, how can we keep the morale of employees high and have good employee engagement? That's one question for you.
Okay, you are not out of personal touch. Let's be very clear about that. Okay, you are not out of personal touch. Every WhatsApp message you send makes a personal touch. Okay, every time you make the phone call to check in genuinely about how this person is feeling, doesn't matter. You are in touch. Has it happened to anybody? You've gone to see a nice Shah Rukh Khan movie and Shah Rukh Khan is suffering on the screen and you see him suffer, you also start suffering? Why is that? It's fake. It's fake, right? Okay, but yet we feel that suffering and we reach out to Shah Rukh Khan and say, you know what, right? But he's made millions of dollars on your suffering, right? Okay, so remember that always, right? In this new reality, all contact matters. Every WhatsApp message you send, every email that you send, every phone call that you make. Okay, tune on your ears, make your ears a bit bigger, because you know something, especially married men, okay, and children. If you are children with mothers and married men, when your mother calls you, in the first 2 seconds, do you know something is wrong of the phone call? Within first 2 seconds, you know something is wrong. Okay, married men, if you are still at work at 9 o'clock, and by work I mean work in inverted commas, okay, and okay, when you get a call or when a child calls you, in the first 2 seconds, you know whether your child is suffering or not, right? So in 2 seconds, you can know whether a human being is suffering or not, because human beings have this mirror neurons. Within microseconds, we know what the other person is feeling. World over, coaching takes place on phone calls.
Right. And it has to be very authentic as such. It has to be authentic as well.
Absolutely. Okay. This is the time to show compassion. Yes. Compassion. Yeah. I'm going to just put up my numbers there, because I always tell people, whenever you come to my workshop, okay, I offer a lifetime warranty. Okay. So I offer a lifetime warranty if you come. So that's my phone number there. Feel free to WhatsApp me. Okay. Because I'm quite busy on webinars, etc. I may take some time. Just give me the reference of Keka so I know from where you come from. Okay. And if there are any...
Here is another interesting question, Birender. Sorry to interject. This is from an employee perspective. So the question reads as follows. I would like to know from the panel, as there is a lot of discussion on recession, and from a hiring point of view, candidates are in a situation where they are not able to decide on job change. How do you look at it? So this is a slightly tougher question.
Okay. So there are... So first of all, I think it depends industry to industry. So till I don't know the context of your industry is very different, right? So for example, if you work in pharmaceuticals, those guys are working full time. Okay. If you work in the retail sector, oh my God, everybody is under stress in the retail sector to get those groceries, etc. out. Whereas on the other hand, if you come from the luxury or if you come from consumer durables, your business may be down. right? So therefore, being honest and upfront to say, look, I don't know the answers right now. Okay, and genuinely, if you don't know the answers, if you know the answer, then if you're hiding them, don't do that because you will lose credibility. Somebody say, hey, wait a minute, you knew this 3 weeks back. Why didn't you tell us? Okay, so if you know the answers, and every single leader is saying, if the writing is on the wall, might as well read it out.
Right.
If the writing is
I
on the
would
wall,
add,
read it out. Be authentic. The faster you deliver bad news, the more time you give to this person to recover from the crisis, maybe make alternate steps, right? So if there is bad news, please give it upfront, give it with great amount of compassion, because people have EMIs linked to their jobs, people have families, people have hospital expenses. Please be compassionate. Okay.
right. And at the same time, I think that when you're looking at a job change, which may not come so soon or so easy, so you have to be also a bit forward looking. And as Birender was talking about, that you have to take on to different kinds of upgrading of your skills at all the times. So you have to be a forward looking person, have a plan B in mind all the time, and then look out forward that if not this, then what is the next? So possibly if you're looking at IT industry, so what could be the next thing? So we all always at some point of time are looking at our bare necessities, and we come down to, the first level of hierarchy or the second level, which we are as of now limiting ourselves, and add some bit of compassion. And when you go in for some kind of change, the person who's sitting on the other side of the table also has undergone the similar kind of crisis. So he understands that writing.
So one last question, Birender.
Yes.
This is from a CEO, from an employee perspective of how they're seeing the CEO.
Yeah.
When the CEO has not communicated anything to his 70 plus employees since the lockdown, but asking to make sure that online work, that is work from home, continues to happen, and the salaries have not been paid as well till date, how can we be optimistic? That's the question.
Yeah. So it goes back to the same thing, right? It's interesting because, like I said, I worked with many companies who were facing distress before the crisis, and they were going through exactly what you said. Okay. Before the crisis, they were going through exactly what you said, right? Just Google and you'll know some of these companies, right? And in the same environment, what we found is the top 10 percentile people continued to perform because they took the ownership to say, I own this, I own my situation, I own my company. And these people who were positive inherently continued to be positive. And the company therefore recognized that. Some of the companies, when they turn around, guess who will be recognized more when the crisis is over? Okay, so that's number one. Number two is, remember this, in good times, people rely on friends. In bad times, people have only friends.
Right.
So now you have to decide, are you a friend of the company? And are you going to remain there and be someone who inspires others? Okay. And somebody might look at you, we are 69 of us. We are feeling all pessimistic. You, Mr. Optimistic, why are you optimistic? What are you so optimistic? What is there to be optimistic about? Okay. And that's when positive deviants come to play. Right? Because next, when you go for a job interview, people are going to ask you one very interesting question. Okay, so your company faced all this crisis. What were you doing? And if you can say, I did this and I did this and I did this. By the way, they know if you're faking. Yeah? They know if you're faking. Okay.
Yeah.
But if they could see that yes, you tried your best every single day, you were trying your best. Okay. Another company that I work with, I must tell you about this person who had actually resigned. Okay. The company is undergoing a lot of crisis. A very senior sales leader had resigned. Okay, because he was going to a much more stronger, much more stable company. When the crisis hit, he actually postponed his leaving date. Wow. Can you imagine? Okay, he postponed his leaving date, told his new employers, I cannot leave my company when I'm joining. Okay, and apparently this person worked till the last day. He extended, okay, and he's extended till April 30th, and he continues to work. And people are wondering, hey, you resign bhi kar diya. You were supposed to go on March 31st. Okay, you were supposed to go on March 31st. What are you doing hanging around inspiring us? Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So it is about who you want to be. How can you?
That's a great question.
Yeah, how
That's
you
a
want
great
to be? Very easy. It's who you want to be. Deciding that is the biggest challenge. Who do you want to be? Okay.
So
And
on that note, I think I will, sorry to interject, on that note, I would like to leave the participants with that absolutely powerful question at the end. Whatever may be your situation, because each one of you are in different organizations, you may be entrepreneurs, you may be employees, you may be wherever you are, but just that one question in this whole hour left me at least personally inspired to say, who do you want to be? Absolutely powerful question. So please do ponder on that, and before you take any step, whichever direction that you want to go in, think of who you want to be. I think that was a very powerful question. Birender, thank you so very much on behalf of all the participants, on behalf of Keka and Heritage. Thank you, Dimple, and we will certainly be in touch. And for those of you who would like to reach out to Birender, his contact details are on the screen, and please do reach out. And we look forward to engaging with you more and more as we go forward. All of you, stay safe. Same to you, Birender, and same
thank
to
you.
you,
Bye
Dimple.
bye. Bye bye.
Anjali, thank you so much, Anjali. I know you're online, but you're off camera. But thank you so much for being there.
Thank you, Keka. Thank
Goodbye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye. Thanks.
Stay safe.